Welcome, and today in this video we're going to be going over a Magicka Sorcerer build that's very easy to obtain and puts out some big numbers. And on top of that, bunch of pets. This is a pet setup. So, with that being said, let's go ahead and get into it. We have 43.8k max Magicka. We have 17.8k max health. Now our magic cover is extremely low at 735, but we do use more of a heavy attack rotation, so it's not that big of a deal. So, spell damage is 2.1k, and spell crit is 47% unbuffed. Now, we have 64 points into Magicka, and I believe I'm a Dark Elf, so your numbers make it look a little different. Just adjust, but we're using body stat food, so it does kind of help with the max health without actually having to put points into health. So, the boon that we're running is the Thief. Now, reason why we're running Thief is that unbuffed, we're at 47%, and when we buff up, we're at 57%. So, I'm running an infused staff on my front bar. So if you had a precise, then by all means you can go for it. You could probably use the shadow then, but unfortunately I don't have a precise staff. I've been using infused, and I haven't had any issues with this setup. So I am a vampire, but it's not that big of a deal. We don't use any vampire skills. It's just kind of there for the bite, and I haven't cured myself because of the fact this is more of a heavy attack rotation. So I'm not really worried about the extra 3% cost on abilities. So champion points: 34 Warlord, 23 Sprinter, 64 Arcanist, 75 Tenacity, 37 Tumbling, 37 Shadow Ward, 61 Elfborn, 64 Elemental Expert, 23 Spell Erosion, 56 Staff Expert, 26 Master at Arms, 40 Thermometer, 37 Ironclad, 34 Spell Shield, 37 Light Armor Focus, 64 Hardy, 64 Elemental Defender, 11 Bastion, and 23 Quick Recovery. Now, we do not have a shield on our bar. I will show you the ability that I would take off to put the shield, but without, because sometimes you just need a shield for certain content. But even without the shield, we're a really tanky boy. Our defense shoots up over, I think it's like 21k for our spell resistance, and our physical resistance is right there at 20k, maybe a little bit under it. So, we're still pretty tanky, but sometimes you just have to have that shield. So, we have this. Now, inventory. The first 5-piece set we're going to talk about is Necropotence. Now what Necropotence does is pretty standard on a pet build. We're running all body pieces, all divines, all max Magicka, and what this does, it gives us maximum Magicka, max Magicka, max Magicka, and while you have a pet active, your max Magicka is increased by 3.1k. Now, saying that, I've noticed that there tends to be an issue. See, I do not have a pet active at the moment, and my Magicka is at 43.8. Now, when I summon a pet, my max Magicka does not go up. I don't know what is causing that. I don't know why that is. But as you can see, my maximum HP went up from 17k to 18k. Because you do, when you have a pet out, you do get that extra 1000 HP in your passives. But for some reason why my max Magicka didn't go up. So I've put in a ticket to ZOS to see if they know about that, see what they say. So, but at the moment, this is still, even though it's not working like it should, or maybe it is, I don't know. Maybe there's a glitch or something going on. It's still performing better than anything else. I've used New Moon Acolyte as well, just for the extra numbers, but the pets still hit less. The pet's number dropped by like 900 a tick. So Necropotence is still better. Now, Necropotence comes from Rivenspire Overland set. Of course, you can farm the chest, gloves, and legs from public dungeons or world bosses, and the feet and waist from delves. Now, if for whatever reason you're having a hard time finding Necropotence, because honestly it's been so long, I can't really tell you a price for this off my head, off traders. But Crafties comes from Murkmire, gives you max Magicka, gives you a ton of max Magicka as well. It is a good set to have in place of Necropotence. As the difference is about 1,000 Magicka. Golded out, the first 3 will give you the same, and then this adds 2.4, and I think it's about 2.7 when it's golded out, and this gives you 3.1. So you're losing 400 max Magicka. I know Crafties varies on price. So you can find it really cheap, you can find it expensive. But just search around. Ooh, let's take my pants off. So, all you gotta do is look around. Either one of those would work for you for that set. Now, our monster set we're running is a Lambrus. We're running medium helmet, heavy shoulders, all divines, all with max Magicka. Now, what this does, it gives us max Magicka. When you deal flame or shock damage, you have a 33% chance to summon a meteor shower of that damage type that deals 2.6k damage to all enemies within 4 meters every 1 second for 5 seconds. This effect can occur once every 8 seconds. We do nothing but shock damage. Now, so this is going to go off pretty consistently and pretty constantly from all the shock damage that we put out. Now, if you want more pets, because we do have 2. We have our Twilight and we have the Familiar. If you want more pets, go with Maw. Maw's a solid set to run. Gives you max Magicka, and when you do damage with a light or heavy attack, you have a 33% chance to summon a fire-breathing Daedroth for 15 seconds. The Daedroth attack deals 4.6k flame damage and alternates between Fiery Breath and Fiery Jaws and Jagged Claws, which alternate once every 2 seconds. Daedroth can only be summoned once every 15 seconds. So, this is a good set to have as well. I mean, if I'm not mistaken, this is the best single target set this patch. But if you want to stick with the shock theme, go with Lambrus. If you want more boys, go with Maw the Infernal. Either one of these will work for this setup, honestly. Now, we have Maelstrom Lightning Staff charged with a weapon damage enchant. You do want infused, but because I stopped transmuting these things when they announced that they were going to become non-perfected, perfected versions. So, and the weapons that I have were not going to become perfected. So, you do want infused if you can get it. Now, this comes from normal Maelstrom Arena, and you want to farm this. This is the thing that kind of helps the build deal out some damage as well. Your light and heavy attacks deal an additional 1.3k damage to enemies in your wall of elements. Seeing how we're doing a lot of heavy attacks and light attacks, you want this set. Oh, you really want this. Just as soon as you hit 160, start running normal Maelstrom Arena. It won't take you very long. Drop rate will vary, but Maelstrom Arena, you can run it on normal in about 20 to 30 minutes. No problem. So, now, the second 5-piece set, this price, I've seen jewelry go for 2k purple, all the way up to 30k, and I've seen weapons around the same. I saw an Inferno Staff today that was at 900 gold. I saw a Lightning Staff today that was at 1.5k. Of course, it was defending, which was an off trait, but you can always transmute it. So I've also seen the Lightning Staffs at 120,000. So this next set is really just a set that is going to jump up and down in price. Just shop around until you find one that is within your price range, or go farm. And that is the Mad Tinker set. This comes from Clockwork City. I'm running an infused lightning staff with a flame damage enchant. Now, if you want to stick to the shock theme, go ahead and put a shock damage enchant on it. But burning is really, you really would like to. I really like the burning status. You need that burning status effect, and the flame damage enchant will give you that burning status effect. So, now what this set does, it gives a spell crit, spell damage, and when you deal damage, you have a 10% chance to summon a Verminius Fabricant that charges the nearest enemy, dealing 13.2k shock damage to all enemies in his path, knocking them in the air and stunning them for 2 seconds. This effect can occur once every 10 seconds. This set is fun. Plus, it's kind of another pet as well. Summons up in front of you, tucks his head, and starts rolling. It does. It's a good bit of damage, and it procs a lot. So, we're running front bar, lightning staff, Mad Tinker, jewelry, all arcane, all spell damage. Of course, you will get better results with bloodthirsty and infused, but arcane, you ain't got to worry about it. Arcane will do you good as well. So, now, skills. Front bar, we're running Lightning Flood. Up until recently, I've been running the other morph, but I'm kind of liking this one. It's not bad, and I mean, deals quite a bit, but it creates a Nexus Storm Energy target location, dealing 1.8k shock damage to enemies in the area every 1 second for 10 seconds. Now, allies standing within the Nexus can activate Conduit Synergy, dealing 9.1k shock damage to enemies around them. Then we have Bound Angus. The first one isn't necessarily that big of a deal, but while slot your max magic is increased by 8%, you gain Mana Resolve, increasing your physical and spell resistance by 1.3. Barbed Trap. When triggered, the trap deals 1.8k physical damage and additional 5.6k physical damage over 16 seconds and grants you minor force, increasing your critical damage by 10% for the duration. Now, you're going to front bar Bound Aegis, and your bar trap is going to be on your front bar. Now, we use spell power pots in this setup, or crown power pots. It's up to you on what you want to use. But now, if you do not want to use them, you replace that with crit surge here. This will give you major sorcery, and it's also going to heal you, because we don't really have a heal in this setup. So, but this will heal you when you crit, and then you just put inner light right here. Oh, well, I haven't learned it. But you put inner light on this bar, and that will give you your major prophecy. So you can get by using just trash pots if you need to. I mean, honestly, there's really no need to use the pots outside of just giving you major prophecy and spell power. Or major prophecy and major sorcery. So if you want to switch that out within this one out with inner light, of course you're going to lose 3% of your max magicka, and you'll lose minor force. But I mean, you'll sacrifice a little bit of damage just so you don't have to use spell power pots. It's up to you on what you do. Summon Volatile Familiar. Command the powers of Oblivion to send a Daedric Familiar to fight at your side. The Familiar attacks deal 1.9k shot damage. Once summoned, you can activate the Familiar special ability for 3k magicka, dealing 3.5k shock damage every 2 seconds for 10 seconds to enemies near him. The final pulse will stun all enemies hit for 3 seconds. The Familiar remains until killed or unsummoned. And then we have the Twilight. Call on Azura to send a Twilight Tormentor to fight on your side. The Twilight Tormentor zaps deals 3.3k shot damage, and its kick deals 3.3k shock damage. When summoned, you can activate the Twilight Tormentor special ability for 2.6k magicka, causing it to deal 51% more damage to enemies above 50% health for 15 seconds. Twilight remains until killed or unsummoned. Now, both of these abilities, we're going to have them double barred. So if you don't have them double barred, then they're going to unsummon when you switch bars. Now on the front bar, we have Thunderous Rage. Create a Catalytic Storm at the target location. It builds after 2 seconds and lay waste to all enemies in the area, dealing 9.1k shock damage every 1 second for 7 seconds. Ability lasts 2 seconds longer from using a Lightning Staff. So, now, back bar, Blockade of Storms. Slam your staff down to create a storm barrier in front of you, dealing 1.3k shock damage to enemies in the target area every 1 second, and second concuss enemies off balance for 7 seconds. We're running this on our back bar due to the fact that we run, this is on our Maelstrom staff side. Then of course we have Bound Aegis here. Then we have Boundless Storm. Manifest yourself as pure lightning, zapping nearby enemies with electricity, dealing 995 shock damage every 1 second for 23 seconds. While in this form, you gain major resolve, increase your physical and spell resistance by 522. Activating this grants major expedition for a brief period, increase your movement speed by 30% for 4 seconds. And then we have, of course, our Volatile and our Tormentor. And then Summon Charged Atro. Summon a Mobile Storm Atro at the target's location. Its rival deals 9.3k shock damage and stuns enemies for 3 seconds. The Atro zaps closest enemy, dealing 4.4k shock damage every 1 second, and periodically deals 9.3k shock damage to enemies around it. An ally near the Atro can activate the Charged Lightning synergy, granting the ally and Atro major berserk, increasing their damage done by 25% for 8 seconds. So, if you need a shield for whatever reason, you can replace Boundless Storm with your either Harness Magicka or the Hardened Ward Shield. So, now, I'm going to show you something really cool. When I was testing this out to make sure that I could hit at least 30k with this setup before I did the video, let me get rid of this pet here before I show you this. When I first went to try to DPS test with it, I noticed that the Familiar would just zoom around. Like, that is so funny to me. Like, no matter what it did, I don't know why it would do that. It's just so funny to me. Didn't matter where I was standing. I could be right up on the target right here. Let's get this thing to front. Come on now. Huh. Well, it is. There it goes. Doesn't matter how close I was. It always go that way. So, I end up having to move the target once this goes away. So if you kind of have your target near a wall or near something, you're going to have to move it. So, because out here, it hits it just fine. So, just keep that in mind when you DPS test. If you're in a house or something like that, and the dummy has his back near a wall or near a fountain or something like that, the familiar won't go into it, won't attack it. So, anyways, so you bring out your pets. Hurricane. You're going to Wall of Elements, bar swap, that, Liquid Lightning, then throw out a heavy attack, and then about a half of one, and then you're going to bar swap, and just repeat. That's it. Of course, you'll activate your pets when you need to. So basically, I kind of messed that up a little bit. But, so you'll Twilight your Hurricane, hit your pets, wall, bar trap, Liquid Lightning, heavy attack. You can get about halfway through before you gotta re-hit your pets, Wall of Elements, Liquid Lightning. That's just a lot of shock damage. Plus on top of that, you'll have the Volatile Familiar. Now, if you want to stick with the shock theme, but you don't want to use Mad Tinker, then there is a set that comes out of Darkshade's Cavern called Necropotence Touch. Let me jump down here to this. I didn't think to grab it before I started messing around with this. But essentially, it will give you golded out. It gives you spell crit, max magicka, spell damage, and then it will give you 400 to your shock damage, abilities. So that's going to make all your pets. It's going to make your Liquid Lightning, Wall of Elements, your heavy attacks. All that is going to deal more damage. So, if you don't want to use the Mad Tinker set, you can always use Necropotence Touch, which comes from Darkshade's Cavern. So, but that is pretty much the setup. It's very easy to keep up going. It's very easy. You're gonna pull 300. You're gonna pull 30k, very easy on a DPS test. So, even with this setup. So I hope you enjoy it. I hope you have a lot of fun with it. As always, until the next one, take care.